Imagine this, a single container ship moves across the ocean, carrying more than 20,000 containers each, one packed with products we buy every single day. But behind that massive steel giant lies a story we were never meant to see. A story of exploitation, secrecy, and a global system designed to hide its darkest truths. Every second, thousands of items cross borders: phones, clothes, food, toys, but almost none of us know what really happens before these products reach our hands. We see cheap prices, we see convenience, we see progress. But what we don't see is the human cost, the environmental destruction, and the silent power struggles shaping our world. If you knew the truth behind the things you buy, would you still buy them? What if everything in your life, from the shirt on your back to the phone in your pocket, is connected to a hidden system built on suffering and sacrifice? This is the dark side of global trade, and today, we're exposing it. For decades, globalization has been celebrated as the engine that made our world faster, cheaper, and more connected. Countries trade more than ever before, corporations reach markets they never imagined, and consumers enjoy products at prices that seem almost unbelievable. But that's exactly the problem. Those low prices come with a hidden bill. And although we don't pay it at the checkout counter, someone, somewhere in the world does. A farmer in South America working for pennies per hour. A child in Africa mining cobalt for your smartphone battery. A factory worker in Asia sewing clothes for 14 hours a day. A shipping crew stranded at sea with no rights and no way home. We have been taught to look at global trade as a miracle of modern progress, but the truth is far more complicated. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the machinery that powers our global economy, how products travel thousands of miles, how corporations cut costs at any cost, and how the world's richest nations keep the poorest countries trapped in an endless cycle of cheap labor. In this documentary, we're breaking down the system step by step. Not the version shown in textbooks, but the one hidden in plain sight. The one that turns human lives into numbers, forests into farmlands, and oceans into highways for floating behemoths no one is allowed to question. This is not just a story about trade, it's a story about power, inequality, and the invisible threads that tie all of us to a system we rarely think about. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, the everyday things you buy will never look the same again. To understand the dark side of global trade, we first have to look at something most people never think about: the journey of a product. Take something as simple as a cotton t-shirt. The cotton might be grown in India, spun into yarn in Bangladesh, dyed in China, stitched together in Vietnam, packed in Cambodia, and then shipped to the United States or Europe to be sold. One product, 5 or 6 countries, dozens of workers, thousands of miles traveled. And yet, when you pick it up in a store, all you see is a $5 price tag. The global supply chain is intentionally designed to be invisible. Companies rarely reveal where they get their raw materials, what factories they use, or how much they actually pay the people who make their products. This secrecy isn't accidental, it's strategic. Because if consumers ever saw the full truth behind how their products are made, the entire global market would be forced to change overnight. Inside many factories around the world, especially in developing countries, the conditions are nothing short of brutal. Workers, many of them women, earn wages that barely cover food, let alone housing or medical care. Some factories impose 12 to 14-hour shifts under high pressure just to meet deadlines set by major global brands. Safety regulations are often ignored. In some regions, children work in mines to extract minerals for electronics, while adults work for wages so low they are essentially trapped in poverty. This is called the race to the bottom, a system where corporations constantly shift production to whichever country offers the cheapest labor and the weakest laws. When one nation raises labor standards, companies move to another country that still allows low wages and unsafe conditions. Workers around the world compete not to earn more, but to accept less. Meanwhile, the companies selling these products make billions in profits. The difference between the cost of making a product and the price it sells for grows wider every year. But it's not only people who suffer, the environment pays a massive price as well. Cargo ships, the backbone of global trade, burn some of the dirtiest fuel on the planet. One giant ship can produce as much air pollution as millions of cars combined. These ships crisscross the oceans non-stop, emitting vast amounts of greenhouse gases and releasing toxic chemicals into the water. On land, forests are cleared to grow crops like palm oil, soy, and coffee, all in the name of export profits. Rivers become polluted with dye from clothing factories. Entire ecosystems collapse so that global markets can meet the endless demand for cheap goods. Wealthy countries often outsource the dirtiest parts of production to poorer countries, making it easy to ignore the environmental destruction happening thousands of miles away. Behind this entire system are a handful of powerful corporations that control enormous portions of the world's trade. A small group of companies dominate the food industry. A few major brands control electronics. Just a few shipping companies move most of the world's cargo. These giants use their power to influence governments, shape trade agreements, and keep competition low. When trade agreements are created, they often protect corporate interests while ignoring workers' rights or environmental protection. Countries become dependent on these corporations, and local workers lose bargaining power. The richer the corporations become, the harder it is for anyone to hold them accountable. And then there's the shipping industry, the silent engine of global trade. Over 90% of everything we use has traveled on a cargo ship. Yet the lives of the people who work on these ships are rarely discussed. Many seafarers are from poor countries and spend months, sometimes years at sea. Some are underpaid. Others have their passports taken away by shipping companies, making it impossible to leave. Many ships are registered under flags of convenience, meaning they operate under the laws of countries with almost no labor regulations. If a worker faces abuse or if a ship dumps waste illegally, almost no one is held responsible. These ships are essential to global life, yet the workers who keep them running are some of the most invisible people in the global economy. When you put all of these pieces together, a darker picture of global trade begins to emerge. A system built not on fair exchange, but on layers of exploitation. A world where the cheapest option is almost always the one with the highest hidden cost. A world where people, nature, and local economies are sacrificed so that wealthier nations can enjoy cheap products and large corporations can keep growing their profits. What seems like a simple purchase, a new phone, a fast fashion outfit, a bag of coffee, might be connected to a chain of suffering stretching across continents. And yet, most of us never think about it because the system is designed to keep us from seeing it. Products arrive on shelves polished, packaged, and separated from the reality of how they were made. But the truth is that behind every cheap product is a story, one that has been buried under layers of efficiency, distance, and silence. The more we uncover about global trade, the clearer it becomes that the system shaping our everyday lives is far from simple or harmless. Global trade itself isn't the enemy. Sharing goods, resources, and innovation across borders has the power to lift nations and connect cultures. But the way the system currently operates hides too many painful truths. It relies on the idea that distant workers are invisible, that ecosystems can be quietly destroyed without consequence, and that corporations deserve more power than the people who keep them running. The cheap products we enjoy come from a structure built on imbalance where wealth flows upward and responsibility flows downward. But awareness is the first step toward change. Once we understand the reality behind the things we buy, we begin to see the world differently. We start questioning why a t-shirt is cheaper than a cup of coffee. We begin to notice which brands are transparent and which ones aren't. And most importantly, we realize that every purchase we make is not just a transaction, it is a small vote for the kind of world we want to support. Change won't come overnight, and it won't come from consumers alone. Governments must enforce fair labor laws, protect the environment, and hold corporations accountable. Companies must choose responsibility over endless profit, but as individuals, we also play a role. By supporting ethical sourcing, sustainable brands, and fair trade products, we encourage a system that values people and planet as much as profit. Even small actions, when multiplied by millions, can shift the direction of global trade. So as we close this documentary, ask yourself one question. If the true cost of global trade has been hidden from us for so long, what else might we be overlooking in the world around us? The choices we make today shape the future we all share. Global trade built the modern world, but it's up to us to decide what kind of world it becomes next.